want to invite the Republican candidate for the governor's race here in the state of New Jersey. He is a friend. I tell people all the time, book I read, titled How to Become a Friend. A man went out looking for friends and couldn't find them. A man went out being a friend, and friends were everywhere. And I can truly say this gentleman that is about to address us has shown himself to be friendly. So will you please put your hands together for the governor, hopefully, the governor, and I would say this same thing if Mikey was here, of the state of New Jersey, that you receive Jack Ciattarelli. You come up here, you're fine.
Do I work the floor? Is it okay? We're coming down here on the floor. Pastor Miles, it's not too late for you to get in the governor's race. I'll step down if you want to get in. You're good, you're fine. Thank you. And many thanks to all of you for welcoming Anita and I and my team. A warm welcome, first day of the house. Thank you. Got to know them a little better today. And not our first time together, but we got to know each other a little better. Met your grandchildren. And I've come to learn that his grandchildren do not call him Grandpa.
No.
They do not call him Poppy. They call him Big Daddy. And I was thinking, when we win this race, I kind of like that better than Governor, Big Daddy. And we are going to win this race. And if I didn't believe that, I shouldn't be running for governor. Let me tell you why I think we're going to win. This campaign is marked by something I believe very strongly, and I felt it here today at your house of worship: positive energy. Our message is about uniting, not dividing. And our message is about people, not power or politics. And this is the most diverse state in the country. And I believe there's power and beauty in that diversity if we embrace it. And we will under my governorship. The music we've heard today is beautiful. And I'm not just talking about the voices. I'm talking about the actual musicians. You notice, I'm sure, the musicians are not all one race, creed, or color. They're diverse. But yet in working together, they've produced a most beautiful sound. The question I'm asked most often is, why are you running for governor? 100 years ago, my grandparents came to this country and settled in Raritan Borough in Somerset County. My grandfather started as a laborer in the ditch for the water company, saved his nickels and dimes, at what was a very, very difficult time for Italians here in this country, and became a very successful independent contractor. That was in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. My parents, my dad did not have a high school diploma. My dad worked 38 years in the street department for public service gas distribution. My mother worked midnights on the line for J&J. There were about 10 years in the 60s and 70s where they owned a restaurant in Somerset County. My mom worked midnights. She ran the restaurant bar by day. My dad worked by day. He ran the restaurant bar by night. And every dime they made went to their 4 children. The roof over our head. It was a pretty modest home. 4 children, my parents and 6 of us, 1 bathroom. I had 4 kids and 5 bathrooms, and I heard arguments over the bathroom. We never argued in my house about the bathroom. But every dime my parents made went to their 4 children. Roof over our head, meal on the table, clothes on your back, and our public education. And you had to be home at 5 for dinner. My parents remind us every day of our responsibilities to each other, our faith, our community, our state, our country, and told us never to expect anything in return other than fulfilling the American promise of opportunity. That it was up to us to take advantage of the American opportunity. My parents also told us in that house, us 4 children, that we didn't have any rights. No rights. We had responsibilities. We all got one right at the age of 18. If we were no longer cooperating, it was the right to move out. They made that quite clear. I followed in my grandparents' and parents' footsteps after being at Seton Hall University for my undergraduate degree and my graduate degree. I'm an MBA CPA, didn't even leave the state to go to college, and I'm a 2-time successful business owner having created jobs right here in New Jersey. What am I getting at? The answer to the question I'm most often asked, why are you running for governor? 3 generations of Ciattarellis have achieved their American dream right here in New Jersey. And I'm running for governor because I want to make sure today's New Jerseyans and future generations of Ciattarellis, New Jerseyans rather, can achieve their American dream right here in New Jersey. Unfortunately today, 1 out of 2 people feel the state is heading in the wrong direction. 2 out of 3 are looking to leave. And people no longer have confidence whether or not this is a state in which they can get the education of their dreams, the job of their dreams, raise a family here, start a business here, retire here. These are things that people feel terribly insecure, if not fearful of today. I do not want to be the governor of a state where 1 out of 2 people think we're heading in the wrong direction. I don't want to be the governor of a state where 2 out of 3 people are looking to leave. I don't want to be the governor of a state where people live in fear. I believe leadership matters. I believe we can fix what's broken here in New Jersey. And if I didn't think it would be fixed, I would not be wasting your time or asking for the privilege to be your governor. When something I love is broken, I won't fix it. The state of New Jersey is broken in a number of different ways, and you know what they are. We're up against them every single day. And so, particularly in our urban areas, the day we have to fix on day one, and we will in my administration, is our educational system. When I say that the 2 things that everybody wants are opportunity and security. The opportunity comes in the form of educational opportunity and an economic opportunity. And then you gain security if you're able to take advantage of the equal educational opportunity and equal economic opportunity. Education. We know in many of our schools around the state, we have 8th graders that are not on grade level for reading, writing, and math. I'm a data guy. The data is pretty clear. If you leave 8th grade not on grade level for reading, writing, math, you will be underemployed your entire life. New Jersey recently slipped from 2 to 12 on the national report card because we haven't recovered from all the learning loss during the pandemic. Louisiana moved from 48 to 32, putting in place something I've called for a long time, a high-impact curriculum. If your child is not on grade level for reading, writing, math, we're going to spend the entire next marking period, or the marking period after that, and the marking period after that, getting them on grade level for those critical life skills. I also want to provide more vocational training opportunities for our students, because not all kids want or need to go to college. This is very personal for me. Of my 4 children, one of which went into the trades. He does very, very well as a licensed diesel mechanic. But I will tell you, in our high school, where we were raised, my son, Anthony, was treated like a second-class citizen because he wasn't going to college. That's not fair. That's not fair. And I tease high school principals at times when I say to them, just once I want to come to a high school graduation and there are 2 valedictorians. The kid that's going to the Ivy League tomorrow, and the kid that's starting tomorrow is a $50,000 electrician. Why don't we celebrate that student? So we got to get back to the basics. I promise you that as we go around the state of New Jersey, okay, everyone will be included. Everyone will have a seat at the table. The pastor has my number. I will answer his call. And if I can't, I will return that call. I'm going to reinvigorate, because it's kind of gone dormant, the governor's interfaith council. The Interfaith Council is comprised of religious leaders from all the various faiths all throughout New Jersey to meet each month with the governor, and by working together, strengthen our communities. How can we work together to strengthen our communities? I think it's our communities of faith that need to lead the way in healing our communities, and they do need to be healed. Those are some of the things that we can do on day one: improve our educational system, strengthen our communities by having a more open dialogue and a more inclusive state government. There was a study done recently, sponsored by the African American Chamber of Commerce, that showed that there is a terrible disparity in our state government in terms of the number of state contracts that minority business entities get. They're not getting enough. And I follow very, very closely what Mayor Adams has done in New York City. He has put in place a new process to ensure that minority-owned businesses get their fair share of state contracts. This is critically important. For many minority-owned businesses, public contracts at the municipal, county, and state level are the first entree to taking their business to a whole nother level. We know even here in New Jersey, we are not adhering to the Commercial Lending Act that says our community banks are supposed to loan out money to minority communities. These are all the things that have lapsed during the last 8 years of the current administration. Those are things that will change on day one of my administration. Also, my administration, my cabinet, will reflect New Jersey's diversity, because I think that's the right thing to do. As governor, I will visit at least 2 houses of worship every month, and through the power of social media, show where it is that I'm sharing worship with all the various faiths of our state. It's another way to bring us together. But most importantly, I think, my job as a candidate and my job as governor is to listen. I can't possibly be an expert in all things. I'm a CPA. I'm a two-time business owner. I think of myself as a CEO, not a politician. But know this, yes, I've owned 2 of my own businesses in the state, but I've also had the privilege of serving at every level of government. When I came home from Seton Hall University, the mayor at the time recruited me to run in my own hometown, and I was the council president, 2 terms. I've always determined myself. I served 2 terms and I moved on. 10 years later, I was asked to run for county commissioner in Somerset County. I served 2 terms and then I moved on. And then they asked me to run for state legislature, and I served 3 2-year terms. And after seeing Trenton from the inside out, I said to myself, I'm only coming back under one condition, and that's to be your governor and really effectuate the change we so desperately need here in New Jersey. And I came very, very close in 2021. I'm still in therapy. Just joking. I said that the other day, and there was a woman sitting in the front row. She said, Jack, I'm so sorry. The men never say I'm sorry, it's just the women. I said, no, I was just kind of joking. But I do believe we're going to win this time around. But the point I was trying to make about my public service, no candidate's ever come before you whose family's been here for 100 years, who has an MBA, CPA, who's a 2-time business owner, and has served at every level of government. But know this about my public service, other than the fact that I turned on myself and didn't take the pay or the benefits. I won in a town, a county, and a legislative district where Democrats outnumbered Republicans, sometimes very significantly. I'm proud of that. And I think the reason is because as a Republican, I've always gone places other Republicans don't or won't. If you'll welcome me, if you'll welcome me. And what I've always talked about is how to solve our problems. I'm not a hyper-partisan. I'm not rigid in my ideology. And having raised 4 children, what I've kind of learned is at times the world is shades of gray. Rarely is it black and white, it's shades of gray. And we have to adapt to get things done. But I'm proud of the fact that I've won those 7 races in districts in the county and town where Democrats outnumber Republicans. Going out and talking about the issues and what my ideas are to solve those problems. And those 7 victories always, time and time again, restored my faith in people. That at the end of the day, when people go into that voting booth, they close the curtain behind them and they vote for the person, not the party. They vote their conscience. And that shows the goodness of people. Someone has said to me recently, I can't think of a worse time to be governor. With the various crises we face across the state. Quite frankly, I couldn't think of a better time to be governor. The crisis provides an opportunity for us to hit the reset button. And I'm going to do that on behalf of all 9.3 million New Jerseyans. A couple things I want you to know about me, and the pastor, if it's okay, we can open up the floor if people want to ask questions.
Yeah, we have questions already.
Excellent. Know this about me. Unlike governors on both sides of the aisle over the last 40 years, I'm not using this as a stepping stone to get to Washington, D.C. I've been asked to run for Congress. The answer's been no, and will continue to be. I've been asked to run for Senate. The answer's been no, and continues to be. The pastor has not asked me to run for president yet, but the answer is no. And I don't want to write a book. I just want to write the ship. So you don't need to worry about me getting distracted because I've got ambitions to go to Washington, D.C. I don't. The Ciattarellis have all been very, very fortunate because of our hard work. And what I'm trying to say with the utmost humility is, I don't need the job. But on your behalf, our behalf, make no mistake, I want the job. This is home. Always has been, always will be. And if you decide to send me home in 4 or 8 years, I'm going to the beach in Surf City. I'll still be right here in Jersey. But I'm not going anywhere else. And the other thing is, I'm not owned by any special interests. Once your governor is owned by the special interests, they're compromised. And once they're compromised, they cannot get the job done. It's no different than a compromised soul. Once you're compromised, it's over. I'm not owned by any special interests. And I promise you that we'll do right by all the people of New Jersey. So Pastor, with that, I'm happy to answer questions.
Let's give him a hand. I'm going to share with you all 2 things Jack and I have in common. I did not get a high school diploma either, but I was kicked out of every school I went to. Just go and get my GED from college. And then I also used to work for Johnson & Johnson for 10 years. And so Mom and Dad, those are good parents. I've had an opportunity to my church, be involved with several governors. You know, Phil Murphy, Governor Murphy, who first looked at the opportunity to run for governor. They reached out to me. I took them to meet our leader, Reverend Al Sharpton, National Action Network. Corzine, Christie. I can go all the way back to Christie Todd Whitman, who gave me my first startup money for a nonprofit organization. So this is not my first rodeo. I've been involved with this since God gave me another chance. I've been in prison more times than my age, and I took everything that I did and turned it around. The same people that used to lock me up, now they call me for advice. When there's another kid, and so I know it can work because I made a decision, Pastor Mouse, to do better. And I think all of us really, really need to think about how we can do better. I'm honored that he's here today. I did, for the record, I did receive a call from Mikey Sherrill. She did reach out to me after I had posted that Jack was coming to my church. But those of you that know Reverend Al Sharpton, the National Action Network, know that we do not endorse candidates, but we do grade them. And I have already started the grading process and the report after I talked to Rachel Nordlinger to get her grade, and Reverend Sharpton, we will be giving out a grade regarding who we think that we ought to be looking for to be our next governor. I think Jack is on the right road. Perfectly honest with you. I think we have a Millennium group over there, my daughters and them, they are really concerned. I know Pastor Jeffrey Powell raised some concerns about pregnancy and daycare centers. I also have a daycare center. I also have a technology center, 30,000 square feet, in the city of Newark, Atlantic City, Jersey City. We're partnering with one of the biggest developers, Move On, former baseball player for Boston Red Sox, Omni of America. We do after-school programs throughout the state of New Jersey and in Brooklyn, New York. I came up with something, Jack, that was really dear to me. I remember when I was coming up, they used to have the bookmobile, where we have a technology mobile, where we go into all underprivileged areas where kids that don't have access to internet, they can get on the bus and do their after-school homework, things of that nature. I've also been given an opportunity to work with former Governor, Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver nephew. Can we give Charles Oliver a hand and Sister Karen and Ray have questions. I want to ask Karen and Ray to stand if we have questions for Jack. I didn't want everybody to just stand up and ask a whole bunch of questions, but just wanted some decency and order. So she's going to come. I want y'all to come. Come on, Karen. Show over here. Ray?
Hi, Karen.
Yeah. Karen, nice to see you. And they're going to ask some of the questions that some of you wrote down to Jack. All right? So,
Great to be here. Thank you.
We're very glad.
I know it's my first time, but it's not going to be my last.
You're all right. You're always welcome. Okay.
I get that sense.
So we have a few questions for you. Many residents say New Jersey is becoming unaffordable between property taxes, housing, utilities, and healthcare. What specific policies will you enact to make everyday life more affordable for middle and low income families?
So the word I like most in that question is specific. Because one of my great liabilities is I'm going to give you specifics. And we do have an affordability crisis across the state. No matter where I go right now, the one aspect of our affordability crisis that everyone asks me about, first and foremost, is their electric bill. And so what we're going to do on day one is pull out of the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, which is a carbon tax. Our air is no cleaner after being in this plan for 8 years. Our electricity is only more expensive, and ratepayer dollars are going to other states. By pulling out of the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, we can save about $500 million a year for ratepayers. So I can lower your electricity bill on day one. And so that's something we can do. Number two, we hear that the affordability crisis is most acute for our seniors. So one thing I want to do across the state of New Jersey is freeze property taxes for everyone once they hit age 70. Property taxes frozen for life once you hit age 70. Number two, make all retirement income tax-free. In Pennsylvania, all retirement income is tax-free, not in New Jersey. This would be something else to give our seniors some degree of certainty that they can afford their expenses as they move through the latter stages of their life. We also hear that this is most acute for our young people. And so two other things in my platform is your first 2 years out of high school or your first 2 years out of college will be tax-free. No income tax in the first 2 years. We can help people get started. And the next thing that I have on my platform is for first-time home buyers. And I hope that we'll get to the issue of housing because it's a critically important issue. But the first 5 years of home ownership for first-time home buyers, your property tax will be capped at 1% of the assessed value of the home. Let me give you an example to make my point. My daughter recently got married, she's 30, and her husband just bought their first home. And it's $600,000 with some help from Dad.
I understand.
And I know you understand. We have another thing in common. The property taxes will be capped under my plan at $6,000 for the first 5 years instead of the $17,000 they have to pay to help them get going.
Yeah.
Help them get going. Right? These are some of the things. We also need more affordable housing, or what's sometimes referred to as workforce housing. And I see that particularly in our urban centers. And so as governor, I'm going to do everything in my power to work in partnership with developers, faith-based organizations, to provide more affordable housing. But I want to be clear about something. All the affordable housing that's been built in the last 5 to 8 years, everyone's renting. In this country, we build equity through home ownership. We build wealth through business ownership. And so I don't want to see affordable housing strictly be rental agreements. I'd rather see them be ownership outright or lease to own. Lease to own so people can own their unit and start to build that equity. But I will say, if we're going to have a very candid discussion, what concerns me very greatly, particularly in the Black community, if this is a country in which you build equity through home ownership and wealth through business ownership, I'm seeing other first-generation Americans, whether it's in the Latino community or the Asian community, pass the Black community by when it comes to home ownership and business ownership. And we have to fix that. And I'm convinced in working in partnership that we can fix that. We can put programs in place, the first of which is very easy, the Commercial Lending Act. Banks are not fulfilling their obligation to make loans in our minority communities. And I promise you, under my administration, my Commissioner of Bank and Insurance will ensure that banks are adhering to the Commercial Lending Act.
I'm a real estate broker and a developer in this community, so I'm listening very carefully. And I'm going to be reaching out to you to follow up on some of these policies.
I'm going to be selfish for a second since you're a realtor. We're getting rid of the mansion tax on day one of administration. It only makes real estate more expensive. And by the way, mansion is a misleading term. We know homes have gotten very expensive. I mean, my daughter's first home, you already know what that costs. Second, I don't think we should ever reassess a home if somebody does a home improvement.
Amen.
Why are we reassessing your home when you've done a home improvement? Okay? Now, the Ciattarellis in the Hillsborough house recently, we had a 25-year-old bathroom, and we generated revenue for the town by paying for the permits. We spurred the economy with a $25,000 investment redoing a bathroom over, and the day after I got the CO, the front doorbell rings. And in walked the tax assessor. And she said to me, "You know what I have to do?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Let me ask you something. Over the course of 25 years when we were beating the hell out of the bathroom, did the assessment go down?" She said, "Oh, no, don't work that way." I said, "I know it doesn't work that way." They reassess the home. Okay, that's not right. So under Governor Ciattarelli, we're not going to reassess the home just because you had a home improvement.
Amen.
Okay, Mr. Senator, this question is in 2 parts. New Jersey's curriculum is hypersexualized starting in kindergarten. What can you do to protect parents' rights? What can you do to protect parental rights to opt their children out of those lessons? That's number one. And number two is it true that schools can refer parents to diapers if the parents do not affirm their child's desire to be part of the LGBT plus community?
So, I was not in approval of what is a fairly new public school curriculum. I believe that we're teaching sex education at too young of age. I want to be clear. It's not that I'm opposed to sex education, but I think it's starting at too early an age. Okay, we need an age-appropriate curriculum. And I've never been in favor of the LGBTQ curriculum in our public schools. I think that there are things being taught in our public schools that belong at home, at the kitchen table, between parent and child. When the parent decides it's time, because each child progresses at a different rate. And so what I can do on day one is replace everyone on the State Board of Education, and you'll get a new public school curriculum on day one that emphasizes critical life skills, vocational training, with an age-appropriate curriculum that respects parental rights. I don't feel, based on what we pay in taxes, there's little enough school time today that you should have to worry about opting your kids out of classes. That's lost school time. Now, I was raised at a time when my parents didn't have to worry about me walking to school, and they didn't have to worry about what I was learning at school. And we need to get back to that day. So my Attorney General, on day one, specific to this, will also get rid of policy 5756. For those of you that are not familiar with policy 5756, this was not codified by the legislature. This is an executive order put in place by the governor and attorney general. I do not believe that school districts should be keeping secrets from parents. In my mind, this is immoral, it's indecent, it's wrong, and it's dangerous. Our children are best served when school districts and parents work in partnership, not in secret. So those are changes that we can make on day one.
Mental health and addiction are non-partisan crises. How would you ensure that treatment is accessible, affordable, and equitable, especially for vulnerable populations?
First, let me say that health care is a right, not a privilege. And what concerns me greatly, particularly in our urban centers, in minority communities, you do not see the healthcare systems expanding with primary care clinics in these areas. More times than not, they might be expanding in areas where everyone is covered, has health insurance. And there's an economic reason for that. But I believe that everyone in this state should have convenient access to high quality care. And I'll work in partnership with our healthcare systems to ensure that there is. With regard to the mental health crisis, when I was a Somerset County Commissioner, we did something no other county did in the state. We created the first community mental health center, because what we were hearing from the community was that if they had a family member in crisis, you couldn't get an appointment for 2 or 3 months down the road. That's going to be too late. And what was happening is people had ended up in the emergency room, and that could be too late. So we opened up a 24/7 community mental health center. The psychiatrists, the psychologists, the licensed clinical social workers were county employees, and everyone had access no matter what their insurance coverage. What am I getting at? As governor, I'm going to work in partnership with our 21 counties to ensure that in each and every community there are mental health clinics that people can get quick, convenient access to high quality care from professionally trained mental health professionals. I also think we need to take the same approach with regard to homelessness. We should not address the homelessness issue in New Jersey 564 towns at a time. As someone who served as a county commissioner, I will tell you that county government in this state is an underappreciated and under-leveraged governmental entity. It's a regional service provider. And so, as governor, I'll be working in partnership with our county governments to ensure that there's access to mental health services, because we do have a mental health crisis in the community, but we'll do the same thing when it comes to homelessness.
The next question is, what is your position on the impact of the big, beautiful bill on New Jersey Medicaid recipients?
So let's talk about a few things the big, beautiful bill does. Number one, it allows us now to deduct up to $40,000 of our property taxes on our federal tax return. It was $10,000, now it's $40,000. It also doubles the child care tax credit for those families with young children. It doesn't tax tips, Social Security, or overtime. okay? And the other thing it does is provides a magnificent tax credit for those who may send their children to private school. On the Medicaid front, you now, if you're on Medicaid, will have to verify your eligibility twice a year, not once a year. Do you know who it was that originally put that policy in place? President Barack Obama. President Trump kept it his first term. President Biden put it back to once a year. I don't think it's unfair. And some may disagree, and I respect that. I don't think it's unfair for you to have to verify your eligibility for Medicaid twice a year. The other thing this bill does is says if you're on Medicaid and you're able-bodied and your children are 15 or older, in order to continue to qualify for Medicaid, you have to provide 20 hours a week of either work, volunteerism, or education. We may disagree, but I believe that's fair. And what some are doing, who may be running for governor, is trying to scare people that they're going to lose their Medicaid. You're not going to lose your Medicaid. But I do believe that those two reforms are fair. I do believe those two reforms are fair. Not because every person that's on Medicaid is gaming the system, but there is fraud in the system. And all of us should be concerned about any type of fraud.
Although I realize that you have a vast platform, if you had to make a choice, which item from your platform are you the most passionate about?
Property taxes. And let me tell you why. Because it doesn't matter if you're a homeowner, a tenant, or a business owner, property taxes affects you. When the landlord gets increases in the property tax, it has to be passed through to the tenant. So tenants are not exempt from this property tax crisis all across New Jersey. And so we need to find a way to lower our property taxes. I do believe we need a more equitable distribution of state aid to our school districts because the school budget is usually the largest portion of the property tax bill. There's a municipal tax, there's a county tax, but there's a school tax. And you've heard what it is I want to do for seniors, freeze them once you're at age 70, and for first-time home buyers, okay? But we need to encourage our towns, and most specifically our school districts, to share resources to try to get the most out of every single buck to address this crisis. The property tax crisis touches everybody. And so we're going to be very, very aggressive in doing everything we can to lower your property taxes.
The next question that I have, and I think Pastor really addressed that when he was speaking up here, is on Charlie Kirk. The question is, what are your thoughts on Charlie Kirk's killing?
It was Charlie Kirk that said, when the public discourse ends, the violence begins. How ironic. This is heartbreaking news. The pastor mentioned the fact that this is a father of 2 small children. And now we have a wife without a husband and 2 parents without a son. What troubles me most, and we were talking about this before, what troubles me most about this terrible incident is there was a time when if someone had enacted this kind of violence, it was someone maybe middle-aged, who was destitute, who had lost their job, who had lost their family, who had had terrible things happen in their own personal life and their heart was filled with hate and lost their faith. This was a 22-year-old man who had his whole life ahead of him. Not too dissimilar from the young man who executed the healthcare CEO on the streets of Manhattan. This is a great concern with regard to what's happening to that generation. And let me say this. I will try as best I can to solve all of our greatest problems. I will try. I can't promise you. What I can promise you is I will try. But know this. There are things that only the family can solve, that your government, despite its best attempts, is never going to be able to solve as well as the family. And I think that we have to leverage our people of faith all throughout New Jersey to get back to the basics and take care of family. And ensuring that family members don't suffer from isolation, whose hearts are not filled with hate. And so it's heartbreaking news, and I think we're all grappling. And one thing I always say as governor, my first job is to listen. I'm all ears, because I really do the best ideas are out there in the community as to how to address our greatest problems. But I'm very, very worried about that generation. Why would a 22-year-old be filled with such hate to do such a thing. So this gets back to education a bit. What I really would like to see in our public schools, and I will work to make happen, is that even at the youngest ages, a course that speaks to New Jersey's diversity as the most diverse state in the country, and the need to develop tolerance as a personal attribute. We are not teaching that to our children, and I think that's something we need to do in our schools. I'm a big believer in the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. I'm a big believer in teaching children, and teach children of any age will understand this lesson. You're to show respect for everyone, no matter how different they may be from you. Now, you would hope that lesson's being taught at home. But if we're going to get away from the 3 R's for a second, I think it ought to be on things like that. That's a lesson even a kindergarten could understand. And we're not to tolerate hate and bigotry and racism and prejudice. And there's only one thing I know, Karen, about quantum physics. We're all related.
Similar topic. What is your position on DEI? Are you in support of DEI initiatives, and provide examples, if so?
What I'm in support of is ensuring as governor that there's equal opportunity. Equal opportunity for a great education, equal opportunity to advance yourself economically and achieve that thing that I believe everybody wants in the end, which is security. I do believe in a meritocracy, but I also know there's people in our community who've been marginalized and disadvantaged. And I gave you an example of the Commercial Lending Act not being adhered to. So I really believe that my job is to ensure that everyone has equal opportunity. And what I will put in place in my administration on day one is a Chief Business Opportunity Officer to ensure that, and I gave you an example before, that, for example, minority-owned businesses are getting their fair share of state contracts, their fair share of municipal contracts, their fair share of county contracts. This is something I will model after Mayor Adams, who has been very, very successful in his first 4 years in ensuring that minority-owned businesses get their fair share of state contracts.
Okay, next question.
These are good questions.
Why is it that in some New Jersey townships, parents have to pay a fee in order for their children to attend school, for the whole day? Anytime beyond 12 p.m., the parents are required to pay a fee per week.
I was not aware of that unless what we're talking about is an after-school program, okay? After-school care. We now have a program in New Jersey that's providing free pre-K, which decreases obviously child care costs for families that have 4-year-olds. But if the school district has decided that, I'm going to leave that up to a community. But let me say something else about education. The party to which I do not belong will always portray themselves as the one that takes better care of the marginalized and the disadvantaged in the minority communities. And in Newark, we have a failing school system. 80% of children are not on grade level for reading, writing, and math. Dave Kelly's here today as a member of my team who courageously ran for school board last year, came real close and hoping he'll come back. Who is it that has school choice? People with money. People with the financial wherewithal to afford private school tuition. In the last 7, almost 8 years now, the Murphy administration has not approved one charter school or vouchers for the Newark school system. So if they're so supportive of the marginalized and the disadvantaged in minority communities where school systems are failing, why is it they won't give you school choice? I had my differences with Chris Christie, but he approved 8 charter schools in Newark, and I visited one the other day. And I gotta tell you, not only are the test scores phenomenal, but what I saw and what I witnessed was phenomenal. I will provide families whose school system is failing them a choice. Voucher program, charter schools. What's going on today? We are disadvantaging an entire generation of children if the school system is failing. And I believe parents need a choice. Okay? And not just parents that have financial needs to pay for private school tuition.
supporters from New Jersey, parental rights, have been praying for you. The question is, are you committed to defend our First Amendment rights as Christians, religious liberty in New Jersey public schools?
Can we be more specific by what type of religious?
Christian religious liberty.
Are we saying that we want to have the Ten Commandments in our public schools, or that we want to open the day with prayer?
That is not in the question.
Separation of church and state is one of the principles upon which this country was founded, one of the principles. I have senior citizens that will say to me all the time, why do I need to continue to pay the school portion of my property tax bill since I haven't had kids in the school system for 20 years, 30 years? And what I tell them each time is because it is an American ideal for all of us to invest in the future. And that investment comes in the form of public education. So I'm not a proponent of telling senior citizens, pay the municipal tax, pay the county tax, but you won't have to worry about paying the public education tax. What I will do is try to make the pain less acute by freezing the property taxes, making all retirement tax-free, and as a senior citizen, allowing you to deduct 100% of your property taxes on your New Jersey tax return.
Well, this question is pretty simple. Women's rights, pro-choice. What's your position?
I have a very, very strong libertarian streak, and I want to apologize in advance to anyone who's offended by my position, but libertarians don't like government involved in deeply personal decisions. I'm kind of a live and let live guy. And so I've always respected a woman's right to choose with some restrictions. So for example, the proposal in my platform says that at the 20-week mark, you can't choose abortion as an elective surgery. I do believe there's a point in time in pregnancy where it's, in my opinion, wrong to have an abortion. But let me tell you what we're not going to do under Governor Ciattarelli. Number one, we're not going to celebrate abortion. Number two, we're not going to make New Jersey the abortion capital of the country. We're going to have politicians in the state that will say to you, if you cannot get your abortion in state X, come to New Jersey, you can have it performed here and paid for. I don't believe we should do it. And let me say something else I feel very strongly about, and I will appoint judges that agree with me. I feel very, very strongly about parental notification. Now, in this state, your child cannot get their ears pierced without parents' permission if they're under the age of 18. I'm a father of one daughter. If she was 15 or 16 or 17, she was going to get an abortion, I'd want to be notified. The opposition party doesn't believe that. I think that's wrong. And so I think that's a very, very extreme, if not radical, position to celebrate abortion, to invite people to the state to have an abortion performed, or for us to not have parental notification. But as a libertarian, I do support a woman's right to choose. I think that decision between her, her partner, her faith, and her healthcare professionals in the early stages of a pregnancy. Don't judge this book by its Republican cover. I saw his face. Don't judge the book by its Republican cover.
What plan do you have for migrants in New Jersey? And follow-up is, what do you know about Trump's mass deportation plan in high school?
I believe the primary reason why President Biden lost the race to President Trump is Trump said he would secure the border. I think an overwhelming number of Americans, when they saw what was going on each day along the border, were very, very concerned. And I do think that was a divided issue. I think it's what carried Trump to win all 7 swing states. And he actually improved New Jersey by 10 points. His loss in 2020 was 16 points. This time around it was 6 points. And I will tell you that people across the state overwhelmingly do not want sanctuary cities, and that's not be a sanctuary state. And I feel that way. He secured the border. He's trying to make the country safe. I'm trying to make New Jersey safe. So I'm always very transparent about my positions. We'll not have sanctuary cities, nor will we be a sanctuary state. That restricts our police in certain ways, and I believe encourages illegal immigration. Do I believe that someone should be able to just cross the border, give birth, and have that baby be an American citizen? I don't. That's not what the intent was of the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment was specific to the slaves who had just been freed and confirmed that they were American citizens. All were American citizens. And so I support the president in him detaining and deporting anybody who came here illegally who comes from a history of criminality in their country of origin. Let's go back. I support the president in detaining and deporting anybody who came here illegally and committed a crime once they arrived. Unless we're deporting them to a country that is not an ally, doesn't observe the rule of law, and doesn't incarcerate you upon return. If someone here illegally had violated you, justice needs to be served. And if we deport them to a country where they're set free, justice wasn't served. So we'll do the incarceration. The president was recently asked, what about everyone else? What about people who've been here for 5, 10, 15, 20 years? What about the children of undocumented immigrants that were brought here under no power of their own? His answer was, that's difficult. It is. And I do not believe the president is going to deport the 14, 15, or 16 million people who are here in an undocumented way. I don't. And so I believe that people who have been here for 5, 10, 15, 20 years have not been at all dependent on our social safety net, which means your tax dollars, or hasn't committed a crime. I think that we should find a pathway to recognition.
Well, the next question is actually...
It always worries me when somebody starts that question well. So this here and now is going to be the most difficult question I can tell you already.
How do your proposed policies align with Trump's agenda?
I'm always going to do right by the 9.3 million people I represent. And if the president is doing something that I think goes against the grain of what it is we need to do here in New Jersey, I'm going to pick up the phone. And let me say this. If it's Governor Ciattarelli versus Governor Sherrill, he's picking up the phone if it's Governor Ciattarelli. Relationships are important. Relationships are important. And let me say something else about relationships. I'm the nominee for the Republican Party. This is a competition. If Jake Wallflower and I go play golf tomorrow, it's $5 a hole, and I win, I want my money. And let me tell you what I'm doing with my money. I'm taking him out for dinner, and it's on me. I've got relationships with people in the legislature. You ask Democrats about Jack Ciattarelli in the state legislature, and they'll tell you, not hyper-partisan, not rigid in his ideology, he's a policy guy. Because I'm one idealistic to think that I still believe the best policy makes the best politics. Okay? But I'm always going to do right by New Jersey. Now, do I thank the president for putting a temporary halt on the wind farms off the Jersey Shore? I think that's bad energy policy. And I will tell you, nobody at Jersey Shore wants those wind farms. Young, old, male, female, liberal, conservative, for different reasons. But nobody wants those wind farms. And they're not the answer to our energy crisis. I appreciate the fact that he's beaten up on the New York Democrats over the congestion pricing plan. Shame on them for fixing their subway system on the backs of New Jerseyans. They go ahead with that plan, let me tell you what I'm going to do. Any New York plane that goes through the tunnels or over the bridge in the morning to New Jersey, I'm going to hit them with a congestion pricing plan and pay for New Jersey transit. We have not been pushing that. I thank the president for his budget bill, what it did for child care, what it did for those that depend on Social Security, tips and overtime, what it does for those that send their kids to private school, what it does on our federal tax and our property taxes. Where do I disagree with the president? I don't like the fact that his Department of Defense is talking about downsizing the Picatinny Arsenal in Morris County. That's 1,000 jobs. That's 1,000 jobs. I'm not so comfortable with the president having it approved for the Empire Wind Farm off of Long Island. I'm hoping that doesn't end up making its way down the Jersey Shore, because I'm telling you, we don't want those wind farms. But I will stand up and know this. I was the only Republican across the country to call for the resignation of Iowa Congressman Steve King for his offensive rhetoric toward minorities. I was the only Republican in the state of New Jersey to call on Chris Christie to resign after he canceled his presidential campaign. And the moment he came home, he went back out on the campaign trail. We didn't have a governor for like 2 years because he was touring the country campaign for president. So I've not been afraid to stand up to my point.
Mr. Ciattarelli, the next question is voter registration. President Donald Trump just announced blocking nonprofits from voter registration. And this looks like an at symbol to me. It says federal naturalization ceremonies.
I was not aware that he did that, but I would disagree with that. I think any and all organizations should strive to register as many people as possible, particularly nonprofits, particularly faith-based organizations. We want more people to participate in the election process. So I have to study that as to what his reasoning was. We want more people to participate in the election process.
This is the last question that I have for this afternoon. Are there
That's almost as bad as well.
Are there going to be any adjustments for the minimum wage? And the second part of the question is, what's going to happen with Medicare? They said 300,000 people are going to be removed.
So they said that 300,000 people on Medicaid are going to be removed, and we talked about that yesterday. And the reason why they're saying that is because of the new verification processes. You now have to verify your eligibility twice a year, not once a year. And if you're, again, able-bodied and your children are 15 or older, you need to provide 20 hours a week of work, education, or volunteerism in order to continue. And so what I believe my opposition party is doing is what we call fear-mongering, scaring you that you're going to lose your Medicaid coverage because of those two things. I think those two things are reasonable. And as I said before, one of the two, President Barack Obama put in place in his 2 terms in the office. The first part of the question had to deal with the minimum wage. So listen, people need a livable wage here in the state. And by Constitution, it readjusts every January. So this is no longer something that the legislature votes on or the governor signs into action. When it was put on the ballot back when it went to $15 an hour, it now adjusts automatically according to the rate of inflation every January to help keep pace with inflation and provide a livable wage.
Right?
What is your position on reentry? Individuals coming home from prison and providing reentry service? And how do you feel about addiction being viewed as treatment and treatment as a medical disease?
So earlier today, I promised the pastor that one thing I never do is come into particularly the minority community and talk about a reentry program. Because that's what most politicians do, and I find that offensive. But since you asked the question, Brent, I feel very, very strongly that whenever someone is serving time, the last 6 to 12 months of time has to be dedicated to learning a trade in a vocational educational setting. So that the moment they are free, they have a job. So not only are we providing someone with a skill, we also have a placement service that has them start on day one after having served their time in a job. That hopefully that's something they really want to do, or they wouldn't have chosen that training while they're serving their time. And we've seen reentry programs that are very, very successful across the state. We've seen this with Governor Jim McGreevey, whose program, and I visited frequently a couple of times, very, very successful. I believe in those type of programs. I think they're critically important. Anyone who has an addiction, in my mind, should not be incarcerated. They need to be treated. So we need to make sure there's proper treatment opportunities for people to cure themselves of their addiction. Thank you.
That's it. Let's give both of our questionnaire persons a hand. This is really, I want to get her back up before we leave. She's going to bless us before we leave. I want to really thank all of you for participating in this session and the way you conducted yourselves. You really deserve an applause.
Wait a second, I'm not surprised. You're the leader. I'm not surprised on that.
That you all would have done this in such a way to make Jack feel so at home. They would really be himself. And so, as I said earlier, we do not endorse candidates. We degrade. We degrade. And I think Jack deserves a grade on what he said to us today. And so I want those of you that are registered voters, if you know someone that is not, please get them to register and let's vote. Because that makes us do better, as Pastor Miles preached to us today. And I'm just honored that you all are part of what we're trying to do, to change the way we live, the way we communicate. You know, I live in Millstone. And so, you know, my children, they were brought up when they gave out the computers, you know, in Newark and other places, it was 1 to every 20 students. My children were all given iPads, which they really didn't need. Parents could have afforded to pay for them themselves. And so we really need to just change the leveling field, you know, where we're all included, so that we can make New Jersey what it should be today. I want to ask Jack to give us some final remarks, statement, and then I want you to come up and bless us one more time, and then we're going to get out of here. You do not have to stay this long. You do not have to stay this long, and we're just so grateful that you came. Pastor Burgess, so glad to see you and other pastors and leaders, whether you're down or up. I know that Ciattarelli will be posting that on his Facebook,
BASA News.
YouTube, right, Action News. But thank you. Jacob, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your team. Thank you for sharing your husband to me. Let's give her a hand, y'all. So while we're coming back, Jack is going to give us a final statement. Rachel, anything you want to say? Good. Thank you. Just thank you all for the security. Elizabeth Police Department, thank you so much, God. And our security team. I want to make sure that we were safe. I want to make sure that we were safe. And I hope that I conducted myself in a way that was respectful to let you know that I have made a choice in my life, and that is to do better. Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Jack?
Great to be with you all today. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the questions, which were very thoughtful and spot on. Whether or not you decide to vote for me, know this: the day after election, we lay down arms. I think one of the great challenges we face today is that my parents, listen, they voted for who they voted for, but the day after the election, whoever it was that won, they wanted to be successful. I think it's un-American not to want our leadership to be successful once the competition is over.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So let's come together. Let's make it happen in New Jersey. The theme for this campaign is "It's time." It's time. Now I said that yesterday. I was at an event. The guy started yelling at me, saying, "It's past time. It's past time." I get it. But I do think it's time. We need to change here in New Jersey, and I'll provide you with the change that we can all benefit from. So I look forward, after we win, to working in partnership with you to make our communities better, make our state better, make our country better, and get us back to where we need to be. But faith-based organizations are going to lead the way. Faith-based organizations. I look forward to working with all of you and the pastors to make that happen. Thank you all so very, very much.
Now I want to quell, we ready? It's got to be an earplug. It seems like she's good, but earplug. She did an outstanding job. Come on in, girl. Jack, I'm told that she just flew in from Detroit. Is that right? Yes. Just flew in from Detroit. And to Corey, Aaron, y'all the best. Say it, y'all are the best. Amen. Let's take them out in style. Yes. Let's take Jack out in style. Since he said he come to church.
Okay, one more time, we're gonna stand at our feet, come on.
station identification parade. And Jacob knows exactly what this is about. And that is, we never leave without taking up an offering. Never leave church without taking up an offering. We want to make sure we take care of our preacher and make sure we take care of those that participated in the wonderful singing and musicians. Good idea. And so I want to do this. I want to do this real quick. I need at least, I'm going to start it off with $100, but I need at least 9 more people to give me $100. 9 more. I want to try to respect you, Jay. That's your money. I want to get mine. I mean, let me get mine first. I never tell you to do something. Now without cash now and Zelle. What's the Zelle? Listen, we gotta go real quick. Thank you. As you're coming, you're about to leave. Jack, I know that they have an exit for you. You can go that way, or you want to shake hands with the people. Yeah, I got you. Let's just do this. Father, we pray that I would protect, that I would keep him, his family, his campaign, all of those that are responsible, and everyone that's going to play a part of this gubernatorial race this year. Cover us, God.
Yes.
Keep hurt, harm, and danger away.
Yes,
in
Lord.
Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Jackson, BASA News. God bless America and God bless the state of New Jersey. No matter who wins this contest, we gotta wish them luck. Again, BASA News. I'll conclude with my speech at this point. I'll keep the camera rolling. God bless. Zachariah Jackson, BASA News. Good night.